Thank you for tuning in to What in the World is Going On. Today we will discuss Guantanamo Bay, unveiling the harsh realities of the controversial prison. Nestled within the confines of a U.S. naval base, Guantanamo Bay has become synonymous with controversy, secrecy, and human rights debates. Since its inception as a detention facility in the aftermath of September 11th attacks, this isolated prison has housed numerous detainees under conditions that have sparked global outrage and scrutiny. The stark reality of life inside Guantanamo Bay reveal a complex tapestry of fear, resilience, and the quest for justice, with stories of individuals whose lives have been forever altered by their experiences. In this blog post, we will delve into the grim truth that defined this infamous prison, exploring legal battles, humanitarian concerns, and the ongoing discourse surrounding its existence. Join us as we uncover the layers of history, policy, and personal narratives that lie within the walls of Guantanamo Bay, shining a light on a pivotal chapter in the fight for human rights and dignity. Let's talk about the history and purpose of Guantanamo Bay Prison. Guantanamo Bay Prison, often referred to simply as Guantanamo or Gitmo, has become a symbol of the complexities and controversies surrounding the United States' approach to national security and human rights in the post-9/11 era. Established in 2002, shortly after the attacks on September 11th, the facility was created to detain individuals suspected of terrorism and to conduct military interrogations outside the conventional U.S. legal system. This decision was rooted in the belief that traditional legal processes would not be adequate in addressing the challenges posed by non-state actors who pose threats to American security. Originally a naval base, Guantanamo Bay's strategic location on the southeastern coast of Cuba made it an ideal site for a detention facility free from the constraints of American law. The U.S. government justified the establishment of the prison by asserting that it was necessary to hold individuals captives in combat or doing counterterrorism operations, especially those linked to Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. However, the prison's very existence has sparked fierce debate and widespread criticism. Detractors argue that the indefinite detention of individuals without trial and allegations of torture during interrogation violate fundamental human rights and principles of justice. Over the years, Guantanamo Bay has housed hundreds of detainees, many of whom were held without charge for extended periods. The prison has been synonymous with stories of abuse and mistreatment, bringing attention to the ethical dilemmas involved in the fight against terrorism. As the world watches, the facility remains a focal point for discussion about the balance between security and liberty, the rule of law, and the moral responsibilities of a nation claiming to uphold human rights. The history and purpose of Guantanamo Bay Prison illustrate a complex narrative that continues to evolve, revealing the harsh realities faced by those detained and the ongoing implications for the United States policies regarding justice and security. Now let's talk about the conditions of detention inside Gitmo, life inside the prison itself. The conditions of detention at Guantanamo Bay paint a stark picture of life inside this controversial prison, characterized by a complex mix of isolation, strict regulation, and psychological strain. Upon arrival, detainees are subject to an intricate processing system that often strips them of personal identity, reducing them to mere numbers within the military's bureaucratic framework. Cells, typically small and sparsely furnished, offer little in terms of comfort. They are often stark and beige, with just a mattress, a toilet, and minimal personal effects allowed. Detainees spend their days in confinement, with limited access to natural light and fresh air, which can lead to a profound sense of disorientation and despair. The prison environment is heavily monitored, with guards maintaining a constrained presence, leading a pervasive atmosphere of tension and uncertainty. Communication with the outside world is severely restricted, further compounding feelings of isolation. Recreation time, when granted, often amounts to mere hours spent in enclosed yards, where detainees can engage in limited physical activity. But even these brief respites can be overshadowed by strict regulations and oversight. The psychological aspect of detention cannot be overlooked. Many detainees report experiencing mental health issues stemming from prolonged isolation, uncertainty about their future, and the absence of meaningful social interaction. Moreover, reports of harsh interrogation techniques and inhuman treatment have marred the prison reputation. The realities of life in Guantanamo Bay thus reveal a complex tapestry of suffering, resilience, and a quest for justice, calling into question not only the efficiency of such a facility, but also the ethical implications surrounding their existence. As we delve deeper into the lives of those held within its walls, it becomes clear that the condition of detention at Guantanamo Bay represent more than just a failure of justice. They reflect a profound human crisis, echoing for far beyond the confines of the prison. Legal and human rights issues. The Guantanamo Bay Detention Facility has become a focal point for discussions surrounding legal and human rights issues, encapsulating a myriad of concerns that resonate far beyond its barbed wire fences. Since its inception, the prison has been shrouded in controversy, primarily due to the nature of its establishment and the methods employed within its walls. Detainees at Guantanamo Bay has often been held without charge for extended periods, raising profound questions about due process and the right to a fair trial. The indefinite detention of individuals, many of whom have never been formally charged with a crime, highlights a troubling departure from established legal norms and principles of justice. Moreover, allegations of torture and inhumane treatment have surfaced repeatedly, with reports detailing the use of waterboarding and other coercive interrogation techniques. These actions not only contravene international law, including the United Nations Convention Against Torture, but also diminish the moral standings of the very institution that claim to uphold justice and human rights. The psychological impact on detainees, many of whom suffer from severe mental health issues as a result of their experiences, add further layer to the ethical dilemmas posed by the facility. Legal scholars and human rights activists argue that Guantanamo represents a broader struggle over the balance between national security and human rights. The prison has become a symbol of the tension that arises in times of crisis, as government grapple with the need to protect citizens while also adhering to the principles outlined in both domestic and international law. The ongoing debate about the future of Guantanamo Bay and the fate of its detainees continue to challenge our understanding of justice, accountability, and what it means to uphold human dignity in the face of fear and uncertainty. As the world watches, the legal and human rights issues emanating from Guantanamo serve as a poignant reminder of the complexities involved in the pursuit of security and justice in a changing global landscape. Let us discuss personal stories and voices of the detainees. Inside the walls of Guantanamo Bay, where the air hangs heavy with tension and uncertainty, the stories of the detainees echoes with haunting clarity. Each individual is more than just a number. They are voices laden with experiences of loss, resilience, and a longing for freedom. From the moment they were detained, often under dubious circumstances, their lives cannot be reversed, and the narratives of their past have been overshadowed by the stigma of their imprisonment. Take the account of Muhammad Saeed, whose memoirs, Guantanamo Diary, offers a piercing glimpse into the psychological toll of being held for years without charge. His writings, marked by humor and profound sadness, reveal not only the brutality of his treatment, but also a fierce determination to find hope amidst despair. Through his eyes, we see the dull routines of life in the prison contrasting against the backdrop of a story filled with pain, resilience, and the yearning for justice. Similarly, the story of Abdul Ali serves as a chilling reminder of the controversial methods used against detainees. Initially believed to be a high-ranking al-Qaeda operative, his prolonged detention was spiraled into years of unyielding isolation and torture. His personal narrative sheds light on the brutality, interrogations, techniques, and the psychological scars they leave behind, prompting us to question the moral implications of such practices. These personal stories reach beyond the walls of the prison, challenging the narrative constructed around the detainees. The humanized individuals often seen solely through the lens of terrorism, reminding us that behind every face is a story marked by pre 9/11 life, families torn apart, and dreams deferred. The voices of the detainees at Guantanamo Bay invite us to reflect on injustice, accountability, and the complexities of human rights in a post 9/11 world. Though their experiences, we gain a deep understanding of the harsh realities they face, urging us to listen and advocate for a more humane approach to justice. In regards to the global response and ongoing controversies, the establishment of the Guantanamo Bay detention camp in 2002 sparked immediate global outrage and has continued to fuel intense debate across the world. The prison, often synonymous with human rights violations and legal controversies, have drawn condemnation from various international organizations, including the United Nations and Amnesty International. Critics argue that the detention of individuals without trial contravenes fundamental human rights and the principles of justice. Reports of torture, indefinite detention, and inhuman treatment of prisoners have led to widespread calls for closure, with advocates arguing that the facility undermines the rule of law and tarnishment the United States' reputation on the global stage. The ongoing controversies surrounding Guantanamo Bay also stem from its role in the broader context of the war on terror. Many governments and human rights groups have questioned the legality of the detention of suspected terrorists, highlighting the lack of due process afforded to the detainees. The use of military tribunals instead of civilian courts has sparked debates over fairness and transparency. Additionally, the prison existence has become a focal point for discussion on national security versus civil liberties, prompting citizens and activists to grapple with complex moral dilemmas. In recent years, the U.S. government has taken steps toward reducing the prison's population, with some detainees released or transferred to other countries. However, the debate remains unresolved, as many prisoners will languish in limbo, unable to clear their names or face a fair legal process. As the world watches, Guantanamo Bay stands as a stark reminder of the challenges and contradictions that define contemporary counterterrorism policies, echoing the urgent need for reform and a reevaluation of practices that compromise human rights in the name of security. The future of Guantanamo Bay and what lies ahead. As discussions surrounding Guantanamo Bay continue to evolve, the future of this controversial prison remains uncertain. With its conception rooted in the post 9/11 era, the facility has long been a focal point for debates on human rights, national security, and the rule of law. Calls for its closure has echoed through political corridors, driven by a growing consensus that the prison's existence undermines the very value of purports to protect. In recent years, several detainees have been released, and the number of individuals remaining at Guantanamo Bay has dwindled, leading to discussions about the viability of the facility itself. The Biden administration has expressed intentions to address the prison's fate, signaling a potential shift in policies. Advocates for closure argue that keeping Guantanamo Bay open perpetuates a culture of indefinite detention and lacks transparency, while opponents fear that releasing detainees could pose security risks. What lies ahead for Guantanamo Bay is a complex tapestry of legal challenges, diplomatic negotiations, and human rights considerations, the potential for trial proceedings, the continued push for detainee transfers, and the broader implications of international relations will all play pivotal roles in shaping its future. As the world watches, the fate of Guantanamo Bay stands at a crossroads. embodying the ongoing struggle between security and justice, accountability, and human rights. In the meantime, President Trump has indicated that there's room for 38,000 illegal immigrants at Guantanamo Bay. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe.